Hey everybody, it's J-Ro with ABC Conversations, and today we're going to talk about how ADHD develops in children and why my beliefs and my theories of ADHD developing in children. Now, let's get into this. I believe that ADHD is caused by a codependent narcissistic family. Now, I'm going to explain the full depths of that codependent narcissistic family and how that role plays into the child developing ADHD. It's a long video, so if you guys can bear with me, watch the whole video. I will bring it around so you can understand my concept and my theory behind why ADHD develops. What causes ADHD and how I think it correlates to our development in childhood. And I just wanted to talk to you guys about that because everybody has addressed it on a macro level, but nobody has discovered it on a micro level yet. They said there's some correlations, but yet nobody just discovered the real cause behind it. And I believe I know the real cause of it because my validation is that I am ADHD. And it takes one to know one. So I believe I know the real cause and the correlation behind ADHD. And I'd like to share that with you guys. Now, I'm not a doctor. I am a nurse. And I've been through developmental psychology and different classes like that. So that kind of helps me in my judgments of what's going on. And I know that a lot of people don't want to trust somebody unless somebody is a doctor, researcher, or a scientist. But if we think of it in reality and we think of how those people got their degrees, and what is a degree anyways for a doctor? I mean, to me, it's just a piece of paper. It's reassurance so that you can trust them and trust what they're saying is true and believable. Well, I'm sorry, but a little piece of paper doesn't make me trust you anymore because if you think about it, that first doctor, that first scientist, that first researcher, how did they become a doctor, scientist, or researcher? Somebody knew the subject or somebody discovered it out of a self-discovery because back then we didn't have degrees or anything like that. So self-discovery, then this person was like, I know a lot of stuff. And I want it to be contributed on down the line, so I'm going to design a system where you will get a degree once I teach you these things, and then we can say you're a certified doctor, you're a certified scientist, you're a certified researcher. Well, that's all fine and dandy, and I'm glad we did that so we could make people trust us. But it's because somebody self-discovered something, and that's what I'm talking about. I believe that I have self-discovered the causes behind ADHD. Now, a great channel to go explore and see if you have ADHD or find out what ADHD is would be Jessica McCabe's channel for How to ADHD. She's got a great channel. She's got several videos. She's got a lot of followers, and she explains ADHD pretty well, but she doesn't explain the cause of it, which I would like her to weigh in on this as well. My other channel that I have been watching that I want to weigh in on this would be Angie Atkinson. Angie Atkinson is a YouTuber who talks about narcissist and narcissism. And she's very good at it. She's got a big support system for people that are dealing with narcissists. She has a video that I was very inspired by. It kind of let me know I'm going the right direction with my thoughts because she was talking about how stress and anxiety are correlated and aligned with not being able to think clearly, not being able to process your thoughts. And usually you get that level of anxiety and stress from the narcissistic abuse. So that's for a later point. We'll go into that later. Those are the two channels I want you guys to also look at. Come with me, follow what I'm saying. And this is going to be hard for people to grasp. This is going to be a hard concept. And that's the different levels in intellect. We're going to find different levels in intellect. We're going to find people that are on my level that understand what I'm saying. Just like they say, you know, when you're reading the Bible and the scripture, it's foreign to people that don't believe and don't know God. But the people who do believe and who do know God, they can read the scripture and they know exactly what it's saying. Or it's like when a doctor's talking to you and he's talking above your head and you're like, what the heck is he talking about? He's got all this medical mumbo jumbo and I don't understand. Well, you're not on that intellectual level. You have not learned those things yet. That doesn't matter. That doesn't mean you can't learn them. That doesn't mean you won't be able to. Especially if you're dealing with narcissistic abuse, you're not going to be able to learn these things. You're not going to be able to grasp these concepts. And that's what I'm trying to help with. I'm trying to get this out to the world to help other codependents that have fallen prey to the narcissistic abuse, and it has driven their self-esteem and insecurities and doubts and fears down. Like, it's driven them down to not believe in themselves. All right, guys, here we go. We're going to talk about my beliefs in the cause and correlation between the development of ADHD in childhood. Okay, so here's my theory on this. So we have ADHD, right? Well, I believe that ADHD, there are two different types. There might possibly be more, but the two specific types I'm talking about here, I'll bring it around so you guys can grasp what I'm saying, but I believe there's two different types. And I believe they say that ADHD is caused by genes. Now, I'll take that with a grain of salt. Genes pass down intellect. Now, that's where I find that ADHD correlates with the genes. Now, these individuals that are ADHD are very smart people if they're not held back by narcissistic abuse. Now, here's my other point. All right, so ADHD, we have geniuses. I think everybody with ADHD is a genius, and I believe that there's two types. So here we go. We have the narcissist, and we have the codependents. Now, codependents and narcissists are both codependent because they're codependent on each other. And you'll see in family dynamics, they're like, well, if one of the kids had ADHD, then why didn't all the kids in the family have ADHD if it's caused by the family dynamic? Now, here's my spin to that. It does correlate with the family, and you can see it in all of the children in the family. Here's where I'm going next, okay? So we have ADHD, they're geniuses, two types, narcissists, codependents. This is what you find in the families, okay? Some children in the family tends to be males. Males become narcissistic. The females become codependents. Now, this isn't always. Sometimes it's the reverse. And I believe that these two correlate with each other, and that you can be narcissistic at times and codependent at times. So I believe that ADHD is caused by a narcissistic, codependent family, where one of the parents is a narcissist and the other one is a codependent. Now, why am I finding this correlation? Because every person that I've talked to who actually has ADHD, they're telling me I'm spot on. I am ADHD, and I've discovered this myself because I come from a family with a narcissist and codependent family dynamic. Now, here we go. I'm going to explain the details on the narcissistic side. Then we're going to talk about the codependent side. Then we're going to go into depths of my research and prove why I believe it's a narcissistic codependent family that causes ADHD in children. Now, two types of ADHD, you can see it in both. So the narcissist, they usually have direction. They're usually pretty driven, and they're motivated. They're very egocentric and selfish, and they have no shame in anything. They keep a lot of secrets, and they lie about things a lot. They have a hidden past, one that they don't really let you in on fully. They'll tell you bits and pieces to gain a little bit of trust from you, but they won't exactly tell you everything. All right, and so they also think that they're above the rules or above the law. Now, this is kind of where I find that this kind of correlates with this, because I'm a codependent, but sometimes I often think this or have problems with the law. And then we have dysregulation of hormones. So we have anger, outbursts, and the silent treatment. So if you want to know more about narcissists and the narcissistic abuse, they use anger, outbursts, and silent treatments as uses of manipulation or gaslighting you, making you think that you have an altered sense of reality, that it's not really happening, and that you just think they're bad, and that that's not realistic. No. Go watch Angie Atkinson's channel and tell me what you think about it. So, with their hormones, it's an inappropriate response for the event that took place. Now, say that somebody might have spilled your milk and you're like, oh man, like that sucks, you spilled my milk. I really wanted to drink that. What would be the narcissist response? Oh my gosh, you freaking spilled my milk. Oh my gosh, you're freaking horrible. All right, little inappropriate, right, for what happened. It's just a spilled glass of milk. Why are you crying about it? I bet that's where that saying came from. Don't cry over a spilled glass of milk. Probably a narcissist. Okay, anyways. And they also have a huge lack of empathy. They are literally incapable of putting themselves in somebody else's shoes and feeling what somebody else feels. If you tell the narcissist that you're feeling sad, you're feeling down because of something they've done, they'll say, that's not my responsibility. I call it the strong arm. Not my responsibility. You caused that yourself. My favorite one that my ex-boyfriend used to tell me is, nobody can make you feel anything. Okay, so you've obviously taken a developmental psychology class and you think you can't make me feel something. But when it comes to your anger, what happened? You just got angry on your own? Or did I make you angry? Because you said I can't make you do anything. But apparently what I did made you angry. So you contradict yourself. I don't want to hear it. They just plain don't understand emotions. It's just they're incapable of understanding emotions. Okay, so then we have the codependent side, okay? So we are motivated, but a lot of the times with the ADHD, it's like we're so motivated, we know we're talented. Like I said, we're a jack of all trades. We're very talented, but we don't have the direction. Our success scale is kind of like going up like this. Where the narcissist, they have a direction and theirs is kind of more of a straight line. They know what they want to do. We're kind of just him-hawing around trying to figure out what we're going to do. I just know that it comes with the narcissistic abuse, suppressing you, holding you down, holding you back, making you doubt and fear yourself. So we are unmotivated at times with the narcissistic abuse. You can feel unmotivated, fear, doubt, insecurities, no self-assurance or belief in yourself. The dysregulation of hormones with codependence. We're sensitive. If somebody says something, you might take it to heart right away. Depression, crying, hopelessness, feelings of abandonment and rejection. We wear our hearts on our sleeves. And that's usually where we see symptoms because we let everything outwardly express. Where the narcissist, they cover up, they hide it. So any imperfection or flaw that they have, they hide it and suppress it so the public can't see it. They see this wonderful view of this person because this is the perception that narcissists wanted you to see. They want you to see this perfect image that they've created, however, they're not perfect themselves. And so we know not to bottle things up, but we often share too much, and the narcissist will use that against you. So limit your sharing of information with a narcissist and try to limit your sharing of information with other people unless it's going to benefit. Like now, I'm sharing my information, my personal journey to help other people, to help other codependents, to give us a voice, to let us know that we can do something. Okay, and then we have the combined. We have the combined traits. Inattentiveness. Now, this is the narcissist will cover this up. They'll cover up that they have this. But if you are a spouse or somebody who is a significant other of a narcissist, you pick up on these things and you're like, man, they're a lot like me. And you guys are a lot like each other because you're both ADHD. You get it. You understand each other. And that's why we are driven to each other, because we are driven from what we knew from our past. Okay, so let's go back to the list. I'm getting off topic. Combined traits. So inattentiveness, not being able to pay attention, interrupting people, or talking about themselves. Now, talking about themselves, that goes egocentric. Forgetful or one-tracked mind process. Yes. Often we forget stuff and forget phones, forget different things, forget stuff before we leave the house. Notorious for that. One-tracked mind. If we have an idea, we want to go on that thought. We don't want somebody to interrupt us and tell us not to. when you deal with a narcissist growing up, it's going to contribute to you finding a narcissist later in life, because that's all you've seen. You've seen a poor family dynamic your whole life growing up, and that narcissist, who may have been one parent, was suppressing you, putting you down, making you feel stupid, making you feel like you didn't amount to anything, always feeling like you have to prove yourself to them. They're also very authoritative, and they give you rules and directions, and you become rebellious and resistant to it. And it trickles into your learning. So when you're dealing with narcissistic abuse, it's going to make you feel timid, shy, scared, doubtful, insecure. It's going to inhibit and suppress learning, because what is it doing? It's causing you stress. It's causing you anxiety. And this is proven. You can look it up in several medical research journals. Scientists, doctors, they've all reported that stress and anxiety interrupts learning. You cannot learn efficiently or effectively if you have a high level of stress. High levels of stress cause forgetfulness, brain fog, not being able to think clearly. You're kind of just like, you knew you were smart at one time, but when you're dealing with a high level of stress and anxiety, you don't feel so smart. You kind of feel dumb. And then when the parent, the narcissistic parent, is telling you you're dumb, you're not good enough, you need to be tough and not show emotions because they don't know how to show emotions, and they're telling you these things. And then you also have people at school, because, okay, it starts with the parent, okay? It starts with the parent instilling that insecurity in you. So you already kind of feel dumb, and he's dumbed your brain down to make you feel dumb. You hear something enough, you start to believe it. If somebody keeps saying, you're dumb, you're gonna believe it. And then when you start to believe it, you dumb down your own brain. You're dumbing yourself down, because you're telling your brain, I can't learn this new subject because I'm too dumb to learn this new subject. That's not true. Get out of that mindset. It's not true. You are being held back by narcissistic abuse. Have confidence in yourself. So this stems into the learning at school. Because you've been under this narcissistic abuse, because you've been slower to progress intellectually with different things in childhood and not knowing how a family properly works, that's going to go into your schooling. Teachers and other kids are going to know that you're kind of slow with the process because you're dealing with so much stress and anxiety. All the new information that's coming in school is just going in and out, in and out. And you're also inattentive because of this codependent, narcissistic family dynamic. So when you go to school, you're dealing with the narcissistic abuse, you're dumbed down already. You're not going to be able to learn those new subjects, those new things. Then it confirms to the teachers and the students that you are dumb. Then you get made fun of by the teachers, you get made fun of by the students, and then you feel even dumber because teachers and students are telling you you're dumb. You also don't know how to get along with these other kids and these other students because you're hyper and you don't know how to act appropriately, or you shout out because you want attention. You just want to be seen. You want somebody to say, hey, they exist, they're special, they've got something going for them. But it often doesn't happen. We just get broke down, torn down by narcissistic bullies that try to make us feel less, and we start to believe ourselves as less, and it inhibits learning. You're still a happy-go-lucky person because that's the resilience in children with ADHD. We're still happy despite all the bad things that have been happening to us. Now, how does a child become ADHD? So when we have the narcissistic and codependent family, those narcissists and codependents are constantly fighting, constantly, at each other's heads, or, arguing about little things. And it may not seem like a huge argument, but if it's an argument nonetheless, whether they try to hide it from you or not, then you're seeing, the interruption between those two parents. Something's not quite right. You're a child, so you don't really understand. And a lot of people miss this. When I ask them about, was your mother and father nice to you? How was their family dynamic? How was their arguing? Did they do it in front of you? Did it resolve in a healthy way? These people will be like, well, I don't know. Or yeah. And they they don't really kind of like pick up on it, that in your childhood, subconsciously, you're paying attention to the crap, the yelling, the fighting, all the bad stuff that goes on. And it also might lead into like school, children making fun of you, different things like that. So that's going to ruin your confidence right there. I believe the development of ADHD is caused by seeing those poor family dynamics and all that stress from that family that family is putting on you. And then all of a sudden, the child develops a defense coping mechanism. As a baby, seeing all that between your parents, you develop a defensive coping mechanism to pay attention to everything but what's going on, what's bad. So ADHD is the inattention of bad things, undesirable things, which you can get in school. If you don't like a subject, you're not going to be good at it. Why? Because this happened when you're growing up. You don't pay attention. You can't pay attention to things that you don't like, that are unfavorable, things that might stress you out or might hurt you. Instead, you transition to things that you like, going and playing, talking to different people, or doing things that are simple or easy for you to do, something you know you're good at. You're going to go to that instead of pay attention to this, because your whole life you've been shifting from a poor family dynamic and not paying attention to that, becoming a resilient child with that defense mechanism, paying attention to everything else, ADHD, squirrel, what? Because it's your defense mechanism to not pay attention to the crap that's going on in your life. That's how ADHD develops. It develops because we are so distracted that we're paying attention to anything but that poor family dynamic. Now, some people might say, oh, that's not true. I had a good childhood. My dad was just one of those that he was like, oh, you got to be tough. You can't show crying and you can't be sad. Okay, narcissist, thanks for your input, but I don't believe it. Codependence and ADHD. We are generally, if we're not held down by the narcissistic abuse and we break free from that and we're able to get out and get our confidence back and get us back, because you lose yourself with a narcissist. You will lose your confidence and you will lose the ability to believe in yourself. We are generally smart. We're very smart if we're not suppressed by that narcissistic abuse. If they aren't telling you're dumb and they aren't dumbing you down, you're not going to dumb your own brain down. So in school and everything, people are telling you you're dumb, and then you start to believe it. Your brain believes it. Your brain is shutting down when it comes to certain subjects because it doesn't believe it can learn it, because you've told it that the whole time. Your parent that was a narcissist has told you that. The teachers have told you that. The children have told you that. You confirm it. You stop that brain growth until you unlock it and say, no, they're not true. I'm special. I'm smart. I know it. And I'm not going to listen to that crap. Don't listen to it. We are usually cheerful and happy. And we always find the positive out of the bad. We always find something positive out of the crap we're dealt. We're usually very resilient. We are often held back and suppressed by the narcissistic abuse. It's caused by being abused by that narcissistic parent, lacking the love from that narcissistic parent, and not getting that affection from them. Statistics. I found 2 different research studies I found very interesting, correlated with what I'm saying. They said that your executive function is affected in ADHD, and that ADHD runs in families, and about 1/3 to 1/2 will have children with ADHD. Now, why do I find a correlation with that? Because in the family, 1/3 to 1/2 will be ADHD. What's the other half going to be? Following me? Narcissist. Okay. The ADHD, expressive ADHD people. So I would consider the narcissist as ADD, and I would consider the codependent as ADHD. ADD, you don't see the symptoms as much as ADHD. That's where you're seeing the symptoms, okay? Narcissists are good at hiding it, codependents aren't. If you continue an unhealthy family dynamics, of course, it will be in the genes. They say it's in the genes. They say it runs in families. That's if you continue to find a narcissist, because we're drawn to people that are like our family. We've seen a poor family dynamic our whole life growing up. We don't know what a good family dynamic looks like. So when we fall into these relationships with these narcissists, we're falling into a familiar faucet that was in our life once before, and we're like, well, this is normal. This is how my family was. No, it's not okay. That's not a good, healthy family dynamic. That is not a family dynamic you want to be associated with. Narcissistic and codependency is not okay. Now, I believe two narcissists, they'd have a great life together. They're so self-absorbed, they can pay attention to their own work life and be successful and get along great. Whatever. But they also want somebody to stroke their ego, so they're not going to stroke each other's ego. So that's why they don't usually find each other. Codependence, we need somebody to build us up and, have that confidence, instill that drive in us. Another codependent is just as weak as us. So we often, ADHD, we find, and there's codependents that aren't ADHD, and those are the ones we usually run into and we find that are boring or basic or predictable, and we aren't interested in them. We don't like them. They're loyal to a T. They're somebody that would be great for us. And that's what my mission is to find after this last narcissist. Codependence, I think we should be together. We'd get along great. We would sustain each other's affection for love and being able to understand each other. If you continue the unhealthy family dynamic, this will keep happening. You will keep having ADHD show up. But if you find a healthy family dynamic, you're probably going to find that it goes away. And your genes, you're going to have a baby who's a genius. And if you don't have a narcissistic, codependent family, that's probably the Apple guy or Mark Zuckerberg. Or people that have been geniuses and developed great things because they had the motivation, they had the drive, they had the confidence from being younger. And they could also be narcissistic. Donald Trump is narcissist. 2.5 Men, he's a narcissist. So successful people can be narcissist, or it can be somebody that wasn't held back by a narcissist because they're a genius. That genius can be unlocked and you won't show traits of ADHD. You'll just be able to executively function your brain. Now, you can rewire your brain. So just because you're in this situation now does not mean you're doomed. We can fix it. Follow me. All right, so I'm going to talk about this on the other page because I put 46 children ages 10 to 17 in a study that I found, and it had 4 dimensions that it did for the study. So there was 120 children total, 83 of which wanted to participate in the survey, and of that 83, 46 children were control children that were similar ages, gender, and their 4 dimensions were family atmosphere, individuation, or, being individualized from your family, moral absolutism, and personal responsibility for psychological problems. I'm taking responsibility. Can you? That's the biggest part. Knowing it, being aware of it, and knowing how to take care of it from here out. Okay, so let's talk about the truths. What are the truths behind ADHD? The truths are environmental factors, poor family dynamics, lack of love from one parent or both, stressful home, which causes stress, anxiety, dumbs down the learning, following me, and poor diet, probably because that family is generally a poorer family, or they're having that narcissistic, codependent parents constantly at each other's throats, fighting or disagreeing upon things, and the codependent person is going to be so wrapped up in trying to fix the relationship, they're ignoring their children or not paying attention to their children as much as they should because they're so wrapped up in trying to get him or her to listen, they've lost sight of their family. When you're with a narcissist, you become numb. Life lives around you, but you're not actually living your life. We'll get into that in a different video. So those families probably aren't having a healthy diet. Most families don't have a healthy diet. We're getting to an age where a lot of people are overweight because the families don't instill a good, healthy diet into the family growing up. Too many fast foods, not enough time, just a change in the environment from back then to now. We used to farm a lot more, have our own vegetables, fruits, and eat from the earth, more healthy, less cancer, less comorbidities, because we were eating healthy. Later video. All right, the lies. Let's go to the lies of ADHD. What causes ADHD is a lie. Let me tell you what's a lie. Links to smoking and drinking while pregnant. Very interesting. Well, most have a vice to cope. Most codependents and narcissists, they will have a vice. Some will turn to smoking. Some will turn to drinking. Not sure why, but there's a correlation with it. Okay, smoking and drinking while pregnant. Well, guess what? My mom was pregnant with me. She didn't smoke. She didn't drink. She never did a drug in her life. Sorry for the language, but bullshit. Genes. Okay, so this is where I come to the genes part. Yes, genes give us the intellect. That child is resilient, developing their own defensive coping mechanism from the ADHD. Like, they're geniuses. And they're, as a little baby, they found their own defense mechanism. And then low birth weight. No, I was a healthy baby, and I was of normal birth weight. Okay, let's go. Difficulty with pregnancy. My mom did not have one difficulty in her pregnancy with me. And also premature births. I wasn't prematurely born. Head injuries. Now, some babies may be dropped on their heads. I wasn't dropped on my head. And I didn't have any head injuries as a little child when this ADHD developed. I had no head injuries. Since then, I've had a couple of head injuries, but it doesn't correlate to my ADHD. That was there before it. Okay, so there was a study by Kang Chu, Sasha Lee, Ixing Chen, Ming Cheng Wang, and that was the one I was talking about with 46 children, 4 dimensions, 120 children. 83 of them answered, and 46 were controls. Some were normal, some had ADHD. So, what did the ADHD children report? Well, the ADHD children reported having poor family atmosphere, little independence or individuation from parents. Now, less independence and individuation from parents, that's that narcissist telling you, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that, no, blah, blah, blah. All these freaking rules from an authoritarian, narcissistic parent. No, no, no. What does that make you do? It makes you want to do it. Those families also had low intimacy level, decreased emotional expressiveness, the narcissist side, few intellectual interest, high conflict and excessive controls on children's behavior, makes them very rebellious, like I said, less relaxed, less cheerful. These are the families. I'm talking about the family. The family is less relaxed, less cheerful, more authoritative. They use punishment for bad behavior. Unhappy and antagonistic family leads to resentment of parental restrictions. All right, so the outward display, it's associated with introversion, emotional instability by the ADHD child, depression. So these are ones that I've added that I know I have because of this. Depression, insecurities, feelings of not being good enough because of that authoritative parent that told you you weren't good enough. Not true. Don't believe it. Get yourself out of that lie. Rewire your brain. We'll talk about rewiring your brain in another video. All right. We have a study by Luis Dialt. He said the ADHD is associated with problematic family functioning. Hello, ADHD is caused by narcissistic codependent family dynamics, including greater stress in the family. This is what causes the suppression of learning in the children with ADHD, the ones that aren't as strong as the narcissistic children. The narcissistic children become resilient just like the narcissist. They take after his traits. The codependent takes after the mom's codependent traits. Mom or father, sorry. Parental psychopathology. Hello, parental psychopathology. Narcissist, codependent. Are we following here? Okay. And then conflicted child-parent relationships. Okay, that makes sense. Are we following still? Comorbid oppositional conduct problems. That child is becoming resentful because of everything that happened. So you have comorbid oppositional conduct problems because that child's like, hey, look at me. I'm special. I have something special to offer the world. I've been held back by narcissistic abuse and I have a voice now. I want it to be heard. I want attention. The attention-seeking part of ADHD is because we don't feel we get the attention at home. We don't get that attention that we need or ought to have, and so we outwardly act and rebel and do these things because we're not getting that. So there was an absence of alternative parents contributing to the academics and achievements and peer competencies, being able to talk to other children, and that comes with the doubt and the fear and the insecurities, and not being able to talk because you've been suppressed, you've been scared, and you've been timid. And a lot of the times that parent will yell and scream at the top of their lungs. You don't feel like you have a voice. You've been shutting up your whole life. Look at the narcissist from Angie Atkinson. Look how it shuts you up. They give you the silent treatment. They yell and yell and yell until you do not respond, and you lose your confidence to respond. And so to diffuse the narcissist, what you do is you just, like a little sheep or a dog tucking its tail between its legs, like, okay, I'm scared. I'm going to listen to you. Bullshit. Don't do that anymore. Don't do that to yourself. That is caused by the narcissist. Okay, so we lack being able to communicate with our peers because of this situation that has happened in our lives. Also, internalizing difficulties. We take and we internalize those difficulties as a younger child because we don't know what's going on. We internalize what's happening to us for fear of more narcissistic abuse. We're fearing what our family is going to say about it, or we're going to embarrass our family, or other families in the community are going to, be embarrassed. So we hide it. We hide the abuse. We hide everything because we don't want to piss them off, make them mad, make it worse on ourselves. It's never good to tell a narcissist that you're still in the house with, or you're still under control. So be cautious. If you're around a narcissist, you have a narcissist, 1, don't tell them that they're a narcissist. 2, get away from them. Do yourself a favor and get away from them, because you will live in fear. You won't be yourself, and you will have lost yourself at this point. It's time to get yourself back. Get yourself back. I'm getting Jennifer Rosevink back, and it's time for you to get yourself back. Okay, ADHD, little off subject, it happens. Also in this study, they suggested that future research should examine resilience in children with ADHD. Why? Because we always find the positive. We're always resilient. Despite the situation, despite what happens, God gave us a wonderful defense mechanism, a defense coping mechanism where even though all that crap happens, for some reason that ADHD child is so resilient. So resilient. And we seem like the happiest child, we have the expressive ADHD tendencies, which makes us come off as rude, selfish, all the other things. You can go to How to ADHD with Jessica McCabe and learn those things. That's not what I'm getting into right now. But with this, with everything that I've shown you guys, I hope that this correlates with you. I hope it resonates with you. And get on my channel. Leave me your thoughts. Tell me what you think about it. Tell you what you think about what I've discovered. Help me to get this discovery out there to others that are suffering, other codependents that have lost their voice, lost themselves in that narcissistic abuse. Help them to have a voice, to find themselves again, and find that they are special. They are going to be coming up with brilliant stuff like this. The ADHD person who can get away from the narcissist usually becomes an entrepreneur. Jessica McCabe is a great example of a codependent ADHD person who constantly struggled with narcissist and was able to get away from it and find a codependent. And now she's running a channel, and it's huge because she was able to get away. She was able to find the things, the attributes, the personal attributes that she had that she can finally express, not being suppressed by a narcissist. All right, guys. So take this advice from me. If you're a codependent, unlock your brain. Get rid of those false thoughts that the narcissist has put into you. Stop gaslighting yourself from that narcissistic abuse. Believe in yourself. Believe that you can do more. Believe that you are a smart human being. Get out from underneath them. Stop letting the narcissist suppress you and start living your life and showing everybody the personal attributes that you have, because you are smart and you can do it. And I am so happy to have found this. So good luck to everybody who is with a narcissist. It is a real struggle. And sometimes if you're too deep into it and you've already lost yourself, it's time to get help. It's time to get help out of that relationship, because they are so tricky and they seem so sickening, sweet, nice to everybody else. It will really pull the wool over your eyes. Like I said, I had one hell of a narcissist who was a band member, real schmoozer, had a thick accent, came from Brazil, gorgeous, good in bed. Usually how it happens. They've got all these things, and it's usually an 80-20 relationship. 80% of the relationship is good, but there's that 20% that's bad, horrible, makes you feel like crap, and breaks down your self-security and feeling like you're worth something. They will break you down until you become nothing so they can control you and manipulate you. Don't let it happen. Get out. And there's different levels of narcissism. Some are really bad and it's constantly bad every day. This is what I'm saying with the family dynamics and having those families that I believe are codependent and narcissistic. There's different levels to it. Some are really bad narcissists and some don't seem so bad. And this is where the ADHD people that I've talked to that are missing it, they're missing the family dynamic, because it didn't seem so bad, or it didn't seem like their parents were codependent and narcissistic. But I bet if you evaluate their family, I bet you can find codependent and narcissistic tendencies. This is where I would like my research to go further. I would like you guys to help me, leave comments, tell me about your family dynamics, message me personally if you don't want to talk about it on my page, and I will address those concerns later. I want lots of feedback from doctors, scientists, researchers, everybody. Go ahead and give me feedback, because I really feel like I'm onto something. I feel like I made the new discovery and I'm going to be in a history book, and I'm so excited about it because I've figured out the root cause for the development of ADHD in children. All right, guys, have a great rest of the day.